Today I wanted to talk about attitudes, specifically attitude adjustments and attitudes that I didn't have before I discovered minimalism. So if you guys have been following me from the beginning, then you know that I have really taken myself on a journey. I really had to change a lot of my beliefs, my limiting beliefs, and one of the most important things I had to do was change my attitude. I was very much stuck in a very woe is me and very defeatist mentality. I thought that the way my life was just the way it was gonna be, and the only way out of it would be winning the lottery or inheriting some big fortune from some uncle that I didn't know I had. I really had to take my own life by the reins, kind of pull back and reevaluate everything that I believed and everything that I chose to do up until that point. And I had to shift a lot of my attitudes. So these are some of the things that I learned and some of the major attitude adjustments that I had to do when I discovered minimalism. The first attitude adjustment that I needed to make was that what I had was 1, enough, and 2, that it was good enough. For a long time, I never believed that what I had was good enough. There was always something better and always some sort of buyer's remorse attached to even the thing that I found that was the perfect. As soon as I got the thing that I was looking for, inevitably something else would come along that was newer, better, and that would make my old purchase not good enough. Just because they had the newer, shinier thing, it doesn't mean that my thing, whatever it may be, isn't serving its purpose, and you're never going to find that answer by just continuously looking to replace or level up or upgrade anything that you already have. If it's working for me and it's working for you, then it's good enough. The next attitude I didn't have was believing that more is more. More stuff, more money, more status, more vacations, more space, more house, more apartment, more amenities. I was always chasing more, thinking that that was the solution and that my happiness would be found on the other side. But a new attitude I learned is that, yeah, more is more, but it can be more stress, more money spent, more overwhelm, and more time wasted. So what I really learned is that there's a big trade-off when it comes to having more. And it's not just money that you could be losing out on. It's time, it's space, it's energy, it's peace. And it took me a while to learn that. Which brings me into the next attitude that I had to learn, where I had to embrace that less is really more. Because when you have less and pursue less, suddenly you do get more. You get more time, more contentment, more money in the bank, more money paid down on your debt, and more time to focus on what's important to you. If you're spending all your time chasing things and then chasing after the consequences that sometimes those things can bring, like figuring out how you're going to pay off debt, paying off your credit card, finding a way to store the thing, maybe if you can't afford it, now finding a way to offload and sell the thing, there's a lot of burden that can come with more stuff that we might not really realize the time that we buy it. And when I started to let go of the pursuit of things and crap, I really started to get a lot of time back because I didn't want to be spending all of my time folding laundry and putting it away. Pick a place in your life where you can embrace less being more and see how your attitude shifts there. The next sort of mindset shift that I learned from minimalism was finally realizing that wanting is phasic, and that it can be sort of a continuous cycle of seeing something that you like, investigating it, figuring out how much it costs, figuring out shipping, and finally the thing comes, you're excited, and then you see something else, and you do it all over again. So what I realized is the idea that the process of wanting and even getting these things are phasic and they do not last. That sense of newness and excitement and curiosity always fades, no matter what. And inevitably, our attention is going to be directed somewhere else. And I realized it could be so transient that if I didn't act on it at all, then the idea of wanting that thing would eventually go away. Like, how many times have you decided that you want something, you add it to your wish list or even add it to your cart and save for later, and you completely forgot you wanted it at all? So that's the sort of attitude that I really needed to embrace. I had to let go of the I want it now, and realize that it was just something that I had to let myself sort of sit in and wait on, knowing that I would forget and it would fade away, and also knowing that it would come back in something completely different. And it's just wants and impulses that I needed to learn to manage. The next thing that I kind of had to learn, I don't really know if it's more of an attitude or if it's a behavior or it's both, but it's finishing a product before I bought something else. One of the things that I would do almost notoriously would be buy something new before I finished or even opened a product that I already had. This was especially true with makeup and with skincare. Whatever I thought was wrong with me, whatever problem I needed to solve, I would look for the answer in a makeup product or skincare product especially, and I would never finish up what I was already using. So a new thing that I had to consider, and this is not a novel idea, was finishing the product before I used another thing. Like, I know that's the epitome of first world problems, but at the same time, I'm admitting that that was my reality. So when I started to embrace minimalism, mindful spending, and shopping more intentionally, the concept of having an empty was something that was completely new to me and something that I had to learn to embrace. The sixth attitude that I had to learn is that you are still you with or without your stuff. So on the Minimalist podcast, I heard them say that you are complete in an empty room, and I absolutely love that quote. I think we're so used to putting our value on how much money we make, how much money we have in the bank, our jobs, our cars, our appearance, and there's so much emphasis on how we appear to other people that we really don't think about how we want to be for ourselves. And that's what I'm really starting to learn, and an attitude shift that I'm really seeing in myself the more I sort of walk through minimalism and walk through my stuff. With or without my stuff, I'm still me, and with or without your stuff, you're still you. And nowadays, it's kind of the idea that some stuff is fun, some stuff is useful, but none of those things have anything to do with who you are or your character. I think really thinking about who you would be if you took all those things away is something to really think about. You're whole in an empty room, you're also whole when you're naked. So let's go streaking.
Through the quad and into the gymnasium!
And the final attitude that I never had before I embraced minimalism was that I wasn't stuck. If I had chosen to just wallow in my own self-pity and continue to blame others for the situation that I put myself in, then I would be in the exact same place that I was before I started 2 years ago. I would continue to refuse to change my behavior and take action on the things that I could to change my life and push it in the direction that I wanted it to go. Because for me anyway, it really gets you to question the why behind everything, and you really question the attachment and fantasy of what you think having this thing will bring you. And as soon as you start to let go of that, you really start to prove to yourself what you can do, and you want to keep going from there. And if it's not decluttering, is it something else? Is it paying off debt? Is it creating your first budget? Is it saving up for something instead of charging it on your credit card right away? The more you prove to yourself that you can make these small but mighty changes, the more your life will start to change. And I think the whole attitude to embrace here is that you are not stuck. I think there's areas in our lives that we don't have control over, but we do have some control over how we react to it and how we pivot. What I really realized in this journey is that a lot of where I got myself was a choice. And I know for you, where you are right now might not have been, but if there's something in your life that you're not happy with, then you really do have the power to change that. So your girl got an attitude adjustment. And I still am sort of tweaking that as we go, because sometimes I definitely do default back to that like snotty little girl that's just like, It's kind of easy to default back to that sometimes, but if you kind of remember how far you've come and everything you've learned, and start to question some limiting beliefs and attitudes that you may have had before, then I think that's when you really start to see a lot of change. So let me know, what are some attitudes that you had before you decided to make some changes in your life, whether it be financial, spiritual, health, wardrobe? Let me know something that you used to think that you don't really believe anymore. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.